millions and millions of cars, as you know, Mercedes and BMW and Volkswagen and many others, and we were restricted from, essentially restricted from selling cars into the European Union, which is not nice.
You know how big moves usually come with headlines, flashing lights, and dramatic announcements? Well, this one didn't. It started with silence. No press conference, no breaking alert, just a quiet pause in shipments. No one even noticed at first, and that was the point. German car giants like Volkswagen, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Audi, and Porsche just stopped sending new vehicles to the United States. Not because they couldn't, but because they needed to buy time. Time to rethink everything. Then, on May 23rd, it all made sense. President Donald Trump dropped a bombshell. Starting June 1st, a massive 50% tariff would hit all European Union car imports unless automakers move production to American soil. It wasn't a bluff. It wasn't up for negotiation. It was a demand. Do it or pay the price. That threat didn't just shake up the entire auto industry, it sent tremors through global trade. Investors were stunned, markets panicked, and European brands scrambled to come up with a plan before the tariffs landed like a hammer. And this wasn't your usual political showdown. This was a full-blown economic standoff, and it hit the car world where it hurts the most, in the supply chain. Germany's top automakers didn't panic. They played it really smart. They froze. That's right, before even responding publicly, they pulled back, froze U.S. shipments, changed production plans, redrew logistics maps. Quietly, strategically, while Washington roared, Germany recalculated. Trump's ultimatum was loud and clear. If your cars are made in Europe and you want to sell them here in the US, you'd better start building them here. If not, get ready to pay a crushing 50% import tax. That's on top of the 25% tariff already in place since April. And it didn't stop at cars. Trump hinted that the same rules could hit iPhones, tech gadgets, and even luxury watches. But for German automakers, this wasn't a warning, it was a direct hit. Now, Germany's car industry isn't just about selling luxury, it's about identity. These companies represent decades of precision engineering, world-class branding, and powerful exports. The US market has always been a major part of that. Losing access, or losing profitability in this case, wouldn't just hurt car sales, it would dent Germany's economy, and more than that, it would change how these companies operate around the world. But Trump's message left little wiggle room. He wanted factories in America. He wanted jobs in Ohio, not Stuttgart. And if the car makers didn't deliver, well, tariffs would do the talking. That pressure led to a quiet but immediate response. Audi didn't make a flashy announcement, no media blitz, just a memo circulated internally on April 2nd. It read, all US-bound shipments are frozen until further notice. No exceptions. That meant models like the Q5, which is built in Mexico, and sedans assembled in Germany would stop flowing into the States. At the time, Audi had about 37,000 cars already sitting on US dealership lots, roughly a 2-month supply. Since then, they've just been watching and waiting, burning through inventory while Washington debates.
It is clear that the US tariffs will have a significant impact on the global economy. Prices will also rise massively in the US. Our Canadian colleague has put it clearly. These tariffs from the US side are de facto special taxes for American consumers.
Car makers are already impacted by the impending tariffs.
BMW followed up next. They didn't freeze everything, they halted exports of key European-made sedans. Then they took it a step further, delaying the launch of their new electric Mini in the US. Porsche, on the other hand, made a bold move before the storm hit. They rushed 5,000 extra vehicles into the US to cushion dealers against the coming freeze. A smart hedge, but a temporary one. Mercedes-Benz leaned into their US network instead. They increased inventory at their American dealerships, especially in Alabama, Las Vegas, and New York. But that wasn't the whole story. Behind the scenes, Mercedes also ordered a 25% budget cut in the US division, a clear sign they're bracing for a longer fight. Volkswagen? They stopped rail shipments of the Jetta, Tiguan, and other Mexican-built models into the US, effectively putting distribution on hold. What's important here is that none of these moves were official exits. They weren't packing up and leaving, but they were repositioning, quietly, and that's what made this freeze so strategic. Beyond the shipping freezes, automakers began making tactical decisions on the fly. First came price suppression. Nobody wanted to shock customers, especially not during an election year and with economic uncertainty in the air. So, companies held off on raising prices, even as costs rose behind the scenes. BMW absorbed the blow as long as they could, but finally raised prices 4% on Mexican-built 2 Series models. Audi increased prices just slightly on newer A5 units. Porsche still holding firm, but executives are now reportedly holding daily meetings to assess whether that can last. And that's not all. Some brands are doing what once seemed unthinkable, considering US-based production. Audi and Porsche are actively exploring options for building cars on American soil for the first time in their history. Not because they want to, because the math is changing. If tariffs hit 50%, importing cars may no longer make financial sense. For American consumers, this is already being felt. Inventory is drying up. If you're in the market for a Germany luxury car, you might notice your options are thinner than usual. Delivery times are longer. Some dealerships are warning of 6-month waits for certain models. Others have started adjusting lease rates quietly. Price hikes are inevitable. Porsche could soon raise prices by 5 figures per vehicle. BMW already has. Audi's next. For car dealerships, the squeeze is brutal.
A foreign-made new car in the US. Tesla appears to be the only car maker who has been largely spared, as its vehicles are made in California and Texas.
They rely on steady monthly volume. With fewer cars coming in, many are now cutting advertising budgets and freezing new hires. Some are slashing incentives. Others are holding off on expansion plans altogether. The summer of 2025 could turn into one of the most challenging quarters the luxury auto market has seen in decades. And this is just the beginning. The European Union isn't sitting on its hands. Brussels, led by Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, is preparing a €95 billion retaliation package. It includes tariffs on everything from American bourbon and Harley-Davidsons to airplanes and, yes, US-made cars. Brussels has set a July deadline. If Washington does not back down, the EU will fire back, turning a Cold War trade into a blazing economic battle. Meanwhile, Germany's leaders are refusing to fold. Economy Minister Robert Habeck has made it clear, we will not back down in the face of the United States. In Munich, Chancellor Olaf Scholz echoed that sentiment, adding that factory shutdowns aren't the answer, but strategic shifts are already happening. And they're not the only ones watching. Volvo, a Swedish brand owned by China's Geely, has cancelled US orders for its China-made S90 sedan and cut 5% of jobs at its South Carolina plant. It's a warning shot. If this trade war continues, more brands will follow. Ferrari and Lamborghini are even wedging stealth price hikes. BMW and Mercedes are postponing new model debuts. The dominoes are falling. A recent study from the Munich-based IFO Institute warns that Trump's tariffs, combined with EU retaliation, could shrink Germany's GDP by nearly 2%, a hit not seen since the 2008 financial crisis. That's massive. Auto exports to the US account for about 1/5 of Germany's auto sector earnings. If those exports dry up, the damage won't just stay in Germany, it'll ripple across the entire Eurozone. And remember, this isn't just about cars. A full-scale trade war between the US and Europe would hit aviation, agriculture, tech, and energy. Prices would go up, global growth would slow, the economic backbone of NATO would crack at a time when the West is already under pressure from Russia's war in Ukraine and tensions in the Indo-Pacific. While the automakers were freezing shipments and recalculating supply chains, Brussels was preparing to hit back, hard. The European Union didn't just respond with tough words. They built an economic weapon of their own, a €95 billion retaliation package designed to squeeze just as tightly as Trump's tariffs. And it wasn't just aimed at cars. That's what made it so serious. The EU's plan targeted bourbon, Harley-Davidsons, Boeing aircraft, heavy machinery, and of course, American-made cars. Basically, if it was an iconic American export, it was on the list. The message from Brussels was simple. This wouldn't be a one-sided fight. Trump might raise tariffs, but the EU wouldn't be cornered without a counterstrike. They gave Washington a deadline, July. If the US didn't walk back its threats, Europe would go live with the tariffs. No more warnings. And that July deadline, it's coming fast. If neither side blinks, we're not talking about a simple trade dispute anymore. We're talking about a full-scale trade war between two of the biggest economies on Earth. So what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below.